We have an injury update regarding Scottie Barnes, which is pretty positive, even though it does probably mean he'll be out for the rest of the season. So we'll discuss that, including Gradey Dick getting some serious recognition across the NBA, proving that he has had a bit of a breakout month for the Toronto Raptors. And we have a massive update regarding basketball in Toronto. So lots of stuff to dive into in this video. But before we do, folks, again, as of time recording, I'm recording these back to back, so maybe we've already hit it, but we are very, very close to 34,000 subscribers. So it would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that subscribe button so we can keep you up to date with all of the latest Toronto Raptors news. But let's dive into the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is a positive Scottie Barnes injury update. Now, obviously, Scottie Barnes ended up going out with a hand injury just a few days ago, and then basically indicates that his season is pretty well over for the Toronto Raptors. And even if he's kind of able to return, there's no real sense in rushing him back, especially with how important your hands are in the game of basketball. You don't want to risk sort of rushing something, even if he's pretty well close to 100% healthy. The Raptors are probably going to be pursuing that late round, first round pick, or the earlier the first round pick, then we get to keep it if it falls below the bottom six. So bringing back Scottie Barnes didn't seem like the right move unless he was completely healthy within the next couple weeks or something. But we did have an update regarding his current sort of left hand injury. Basically, news has come out that Scottie Barnes underwent successful surgery on his left hand. It was successful, but it makes it more and more likely that Scottie Barnes' season is done. So again, more and more reports coming out indicating that Scottie Barnes, it's going to be confirmed that his season is over. Again, even if he does come back, it'll only be for the last week or something of the season. And I guess if he's practicing anyway, it can't hurt in theory, but I wouldn't want to rush our young star player back who's had a phenomenal season. Doesn't have much more to prove for his third year in the NBA. Close to 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 34% behind the three-point line. That number has fallen drastically over the past month, but over the course of this year has definitely improved. Early on in the season was shooting close to 40% from behind the three-point line. So again, that's just 22 years old. A guy that is proving that, was an all-star this season. He's the guy the Toronto Raptors should be building around, going forward into the future. And even after we dealt away OG, Pascal went younger, built around, the younger group where we expected losses to start packing up, start amping up. Scottie Barnes played well, even though RJ Barrett didn't. Manuel quickly had a large part of winning some of these games. Scottie Barnes was a key factor, and now with him out of the lineup, we see how important he actually was to this team, but was a key factor in the Raptors getting wins. And I guess the Raptors did beat Charlotte the other night, but we'll see if the winning ways continue without Scottie Barnes. Our offense from the eye test definitely looks a heck of a ton worse without him out there in the lineup. So, wishing the best for Scottie Barnes. Happy to hear that his surgery was successful. But moving on to another young player for the Toronto Raptors, is Gradey Dick is officially breaking out now at this point. Now, we've discussed this in recent videos, recent talks, recent discussions, vids, basically how Gradey Dick is a guy that, after a cold start to the season, a stint in the G League, ever since the Raptors' main guys got moved, he's been getting consistent run for this group. Gradey Dick is looking exactly like the player that had Toronto Raptors fans hyped up coming into the season. Gradey Dick, elite three-point shooter. He's doing well driving the basket. He does more out there on the court than just space the floor and shoot threes. And defensively, I think he brings a lot of energy. He sneakily has a lot of size as well. Not necessarily strength just yet, but has a bit of height for that sort of, two guard, three sort of wing position. Gradey Dick is just a guy that has overall really impressed me. And now it's not just Toronto Raptors fans he's impressing us. Basically, news came out that Gradey Dick was the runner-up in terms of Rookie of the Month in the Eastern Conference. Brandon Miller's been an absolute monster for the Charlotte Hornets, so makes sense. Definitely no disrespect there. But to get it over Hawkes, to get it over Sir Thompson, I'm pretty happy with Gradey Dick's sort of performance. Getting some recognition. Being the runner-up in terms of Rookie of the Month in that Eastern Conference. So, he's getting the recognition. It's official, from the NBA that it's not just Raptors sort of being delusional, just projecting Gradey Dick playing well, but the stats also show it too. And again, he's a rookie. We're not expecting insane, crazy numbers, but in the 12 months of February where, the Rookie of the Month sort of era happened, 11 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 1 assist a night. has to be shooting the ball elite and is shooting 49% on 4 attempts a game. So no small sample size in terms of the shooting. 49% from the three-point line, 55% from the field. He's scoring in the paint. He's scoring everywhere on the court, and that three-point shooting is just taken to another level. And Raptors fans are a little bit jaded with three-point shooters coming in. So many times over the past decade, we have promising three-point shooters. The Matt Thomases of the world, the Mari Carrolls of the world. So many three guys come into this team and then their three-point percentages just fall off a cliff. And it seemed like that could have been the case early on in the season with Gradey Dick, but the fact that he's really ramped things up, become an elite shooter, in the NBA, at least over this stretch of basketball, is a massive, massive positive. We knew his jump shot would turn around, so that's a positive there for the fans. And again, for a rookie, it's easy to sort of lean into small sample size. I won't roast anyone who were a little bit concerned about Gradey Dick, but people that were completely throwing him out as a complete bust and stuff like that, that was a bad look. That was a bad sort of take there. So shout out to Gradey Dick, performing well, doing his thing out there on the court for the Toronto Raptors, starting his breakout. So hopefully next season could potentially be a starter for the Toronto Raptors, depending on how things shake out. Maybe that's a bit overzealous of me, projecting his potential development and things like that. But the final thing we're discussing in this video is a major update to Toronto basketball. Now, there's been a lot made over the past year or so, especially with the WNBA making some expansions about the Toronto Raptors being a market that could eventually land a WNBA team. Now, again, we're the Raptors that just covering the NBA. I don't know a whole ton about the WNBA, but there's definitely a lot of cool storylines happening in women's basketball that makes it more interesting just for the average basketball fan that's out there. And obviously the emergence of Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers is another player that, you need star players to get people sort of interested in the markets, interested in the hype. And it feels like women's basketball is starting to pick up. There's more interesting storylines, which makes it, again, because the basketball product's basketball. It's fun to watch, but what really makes sports organizations work, and someone that covers sports, out here on YouTube, it's the storylines that hype people up. And it feels like there's been an emergence of, a lot of star players in women's basketball that make things interesting. I've had me following it a little bit more, not because, again, I'm not that interested in just following a sport just because people tell you hey, you need to watch this league, you need to watch this league, whether it's men's, women's, whatever the heck it is. You want cool storylines. You want to have fun with the players. And it feels like women's basketball's starting its upward spring. And, we're getting more recognition. We're seeing more of it. And now it seems like the Toronto could be a market for women's basketball. Going on a little diversion, my thoughts on the WNBA and stuff. And that kind of has me excited. The Toronto if Toronto could land a market with Caitlin Clark or one of these big names, sort of rising star players, I'd definitely be intrigued by it. And, it'd be a natural sort of leaning in and going to watch basketball. Basically, news has come out that sources tell that Larry Tannenbaum's Kilmer Group has proposed a bid to bring the 14th WNBA team to Toronto. Former Raptors VP Teresa Rech, I might be butchering that last name, apologies, is pegged to lead the new franchise. So basically, Larry Tannenbaum, who is part owner of the Toronto Raptors, I believe his ownership stake is getting a little bit weird. There's power dynamics changing, but he's branching away from Rogers and Bell, who are obviously the main. Larry Tannenbaum's super rich as well, but basically the real money behind the Toronto Raptors, MLSE, the ownership group that owns the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, big sports teams in Toronto. Basically, he's branching away from them because he tried to push for a WNBA acquisition. I believe it was the summer, at least a few months ago. It was shut down by MLSE. They didn't think it was a smart move, but Tannenbaum is making a pursuit to have it happen just on his own dime, on his own sort of Kilmer Sports Group, and might be trying to build up his own MLSE for, I guess, women's sports potentially in Toronto. That's something Grange brought up. Basically, it's obviously very interesting that the WNBA bid is being launched by Tannenbaum's privately versus with MLSE. You have to wonder when a PWHL franchises are going to be for sale, league owned now. So would he be interested in looking at that as well? Tannenbaum's lasting legacy in women's version of MLSE. So definitely interesting stuff. Again, I haven't watched much WNBA basketball. I like the storylines. I like the highlights. I like the stuff. So there's actual team in Toronto, because then there's a team that Canada can root for, then I'm open to checking out. I'm open to seeing how it kind of goes. Again, there's lots of memes that are, I don't mind memeing stuff. Some of them are a little bit cold-hearted and stuff about WNBA stuff. But frankly, I'd be excited. I'd be excited and cool to see a WNBA team come to Toronto, and especially, one of the young star players come up and you can follow on. Be cool to see a growing league happen out here in Canada. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this Toronto basketball, Toronto Raptors news. You guys best. I'm signing out. Cheers.